name's Dr. Dawn Hyman. I'm an audiologist, and today I'm going to be interviewing Michelle Allman. Michelle has a business that is Clear Digital Media, and they are enabling our waiting rooms to help facilitate the patient experience. So without giving up too much information and allowing her to explain what she does, I would like to first, though, have Michelle, do you mind sharing with us a little bit about your family, your background, your story? Where are you coming from in this this hearing industry world, I guess, bringing something so unique to us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And I would consider myself kind of a child of the industry. So I literally grew up in it. We've been in the hearing care space for 40 years. My folks actually founded our first business. My mom founded High Tech Group, which is a distribution company of ALDs. And so we started in the world of helping people with disabilities, primarily around communication. And then my mom and I founded Clear Sounds Communications, which is an ALD manufacturer. So we started manufacturing amplified neck loops, Bluetooth neck loops, signaling devices, all that kind of stuff. And back in that time, and this is dating back a good 20 years, we were the special needs center for all the telephone companies. So we did a lot in the telecommunications space. Now, having done that, we were speaking directly to patients. So at that time, we were taking all the phone calls from the phone companies where people would say, my phone's not working, I can't hear. And so they drop them to us. And in that process, we were working very closely with hearing care professionals because oftentimes those customers were seeing an audiologist. So we started to really better understand the nuance and the relationship between patient and audiologist. We were like the best friend of the patient where they would give us all the tea. They'd spill the tea with us because we were like the people they talked to, you know, when they were challenged and they had come to a point where they didn't know what else to do. So then we started working with audiologists and talking to hearing care providers and better understanding this. How do we bring these two things together? We were post-care, and back in that time, you know, decades ago, there weren't all the accessories, there weren't all the products available to patients. So audiologists had limited resources in terms of things that they knew were available. So we started working closely with audiologists in that capacity. And in that process, as we were working with professionals, we realized that, you know, as patients were navigating through the office, there was opportunities that were being missed to communicate with them and to enhance that patient experience. So now it's been, gosh, I'm trying to think how long it's been now. It's been probably a good 10 years that Clear Digital Media has been around, where we figured out that waiting room space was an opportunity to really create a great first impression, to engage, educate, inspire, and persuade a patient to keep moving forward in that hearing care journey. Because we knew through our, you know, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, so to be clear, the high-tech catalog that we always have in the waiting room and the online store, that was your family company.
That is correct.
So when we needed a personal telecoil loop, when we needed a loop for the living room, or they needed an amplifier for their phone and all that stuff, that was you guys.
That was us.
Okay,
yes.
So how did you make that bridge between digital videos in the waiting room from that catalog? What happened?
Well, I think it was really our relationship we were building with the hearing care professionals and the providers, because as we were communicating with them and trying to help in terms of providing a complete solution for a patient, in those conversations, we would learn more about that process. You know, we all know that it takes people a long time to finally make a decision. We know that hasn't really changed, and it's probably even a little more challenging now for folks. You know, it's the stigma, it's the resistance, it's not that bad, it's all that. Once we crack that psychology nut, all things are going to change, but we're still not there yet. And so we realized that when a patient, in these conversations with providers, we realized when the patient walked in the door, they were still a little hesitant. They hadn't finalized the process yet. They hadn't closed that journey loop yet. And so there's still a ton of patients that come in that were tested, not sold. So they had made that first step, but they weren't following through all the way. They weren't finalizing that. And so there was just this opportunity. We thought, well, in the waiting room, what's happening? Why is there not more engagement in that space? So when someone enters the office, even though they're not sitting there for an hour, you know, and as an example, my daughter just had a baby, her obstetrician, wait time minimum of an hour, minimum, just nuts, right? An audiologist generally doesn't have that kind of wait time. However, there is, and we've sat in waiting rooms and observed, and we saw that it was longer than most think. And when a patient comes in, and even in 5 minutes, if they're sitting down, what are they feeling? There's an emotion happening there. What's the experience like? Do they see nothing? Is it like just some pictures that were thrown up on the wall? Is there a TV that's off? God forbid the news is playing right now. Like what is this like? Then we were watching as we started to test out this thought process, because there are doctors' offices. A lot of doctors, medical practices have video playing in the waiting room, right? And so this is not a new concept. But we're like, how do we work this into the hearing care industry, because it's just not being used. So as we were observing and seeing, patients sit down, and when we started to stream good content, we're not, really good, thoughtful content created by providers, they looked up. And they you could see it. You could see this like relaxing, this, and what we started to see was patients were asking questions, and they like, I didn't know that. We even had providers call us and say, I didn't know that, and it was really cool to start to see this level of engagement. And we found that the difference it made in just the flow for the patient, the way that the office felt, and it's kind of hard to put your finger right on it, but it was like this level of professionalism that providing that kind of information, patient testimonials, videos of other patients that have come into practice is really cool, because people are like, wow, okay, I feel very related, I feel like they understand me, kind of thing. So it just changed the entire experience. So that's really how it came to be.
That's cool. Can you share with us what type of topics are discussed on these videos?
Yeah, sure. So we actually have a team that creates videos. So we do all the creation. It's not like aggregated from the website or from, internet videos. Okay. So we break it down into little genres. So we have, hearing care facts and figures. It's kind of statistics and quick tips. We have how to relate to family members with hearing loss. We have hearing loss and diabetes, hearing loss and heart disease, hearing loss and healthy eating. We have all the comorbidities. We have tinnitus, or tinnitus, however you want to pronounce it. We have auditory processing disorder videos. We have, the positive outcomes of treating your hearing care. We have a variety of different, we'll create testimonials for each clinic. So they will provide maybe a quote from their patient, and we'll create videos for them. We have all the manufacturers' content. We also have partnered with various groups in the industry, like Healthy Hearing. So healthyhearing.com, we've worked with them to take articles that they have online, and we've created videos around those articles. And, a lot of times we'll get feedback from a provider that says, hey, do you have anything on, this topic, like maybe exercise with your hearing aids? We have different videos on how to care for your hearing aids, how to change batteries. Now that people are using more rechargeable solutions, we have information on that. So it's a whole, everything you can think about in hearing care. We even have videos on celebrities with hearing loss. So it's just a whole bunch of really good stuff.
So what is the order that you usually would put it in? And is there a science to this? I'm sure there is. In the way that it is delivered to the patient. Does it automatically turn on when they sit down, or is it looping all day long?
So it is scheduled. So when your practice opens, we schedule the player to start and play. So it's really playing all day throughout the day. Okay. The way that we structure the videos, and we actually launched a software company. We had been using a third-party software, and we learned that, we could do this ourselves, and we could do this better. We want to change up the way that this is managed. And so we launched our own software to manage the videos called Citadel. And the way it works is kind of like an iTunes library. So you have a full library, all the songs that you've downloaded. So our library is loaded with over 1,000 videos. So we have an enormous amount of videos. And we also have videos that, like, if you were in an office that you shared with an optometrist or you shared with a dentist, we have optometry videos, dental videos, we have vision, we have a variety of different things to accommodate. We also have ENT videos, things like that. But it's set up so that we've organized the playlist, and it works almost like it's like a shuffle. So it's never playing the same videos back to back looping, because that becomes torture. So it's, if you think there's over 1,000 videos in a library, it will sort and pull and shuffle those videos. So it's like a fresh playlist every day. Cool. What we can also do, which is unique, is we can schedule videos. So let's say you block schedule and you have patients, you schedule your new patient appointments at, and I'm just, for conversation, 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's your new patient appointments, let's just say. So we can schedule videos that would really be speaking more to a new patient, like what to expect, how hearing aids help in, cognition, and videos that really focus in on what that new patient needs to hear. Yeah. We can schedule it that way. So it's there's a lot of flexibility in it.
That's cool. That's good. That's kind of where I was kind of going with that. Can it be geared towards the person? Because we have different patients that are in different levels of their journey. Some people are expert hearing aid people who've been wearing them forever, very successful. They don't need to know why they should do this, although it would be comforting, Whereas others, they're so new in the journey, they might have been dragged in and they are not aware of why it's a good thing they're here.
Yeah,
so that's
100%.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do providers that purchase your subscription, do they get to see the, let's say the iTunes playlist? Do they get to preview each and then pick and choose what would be appropriate for their office?
We have two options. So one option is like full service. So there are some providers that I don't want to mess with it. I just don't have the time. So you navigate it, and we work with them in the onboarding process, and they'll give us, we don't want anything on, we don't want any ENT content, or we don't want anything on this particular topic. No problem. And then we'll do it all, and we'll organize it. And you can preview videos, we send links. We also have another option, which is our portal. So you would actually get a login to a dashboard. You'd be able to see your screens. You will get all of the library of content, but you could pick what you wanted to play. And then you could upload your own if you wanted to. So if you decided hey, I had a video that we had made a few years ago, we want to upload that, you could upload it. And we have a new feature we just launched called Content Creator, where very simple ability to create a digital poster. So for example, you could have a little background picture, and you could put text that says, "Happy birthday, Bob," something like that. And you could post it as a video right then and there, right in that moment. So it's really flexible. Yeah, it's a very cool new feature. So there's the two options. There's the full service, you don't have to worry, touch a thing, you don't log into anything, we do it all. Or there's the portal where you'll log in, you'll have access to your screens, you'll be able to see the videos, and you can have more involvement in setting up how you want it to be set up. And then we can help in all that too.
That's cool. Or even as Bob is walking out of his first hearing aid fitting, it's suddenly up on the screen. It says, "Congratulations, Bob, we're so happy for you."
Yeah, you could do, yep.
Yeah, that would be pretty fantastic. Huh. So are these screens usually only in a waiting room, or are people utilizing them in other aspects or places within the office?
It totally depends on your office setup. So if you don't, a lot have it in the waiting room, but a lot have it in the consult room. They might have another room where they spend time, they've done the testing and they're going to sit down with the patient. We're going to go through stuff and talk about your treatment plan. They'll have it in there, because even if it's just playing the background, everything's captioned, so you don't have to have audio on all the time. Or they might even have it playing in that room. There's dual screens, they might have their PC. Because one of the other cool things is you can have the media player, which comes with the subscription. It's a subscription service, month to month, no contracts, nothing like that. So it comes with a media player, but if you don't need a media player, you can actually use your PC. So it's a downloadable app. You could download to your PC, and let's say in your exam, the consult room or exam room, or however you've got your office set up, you could have it playing on a second screen as you're working with the patient. So it's really however you want to present that kind of content to a patient.
This is so cool. I read in a marketing book once about how there's so many ways and times that, especially as clinicians, they were using a chiropractor as an example of how they're missing opportunities to talk about what they offer. And he was saying that in one particular instance, he was recommending that there be just a little questionnaire to be filled out in the waiting room just for fun.
Yeah.
And it's asking them about, because that person was, oh no, I know what it was. It was some kind of like drug testing lab or something like that, right? But they don't just do drug testing. They also have like vitamin infusion, and they had like oxygen therapy, and they had all this other stuff. They had Reiki, they had all these different services that most people that were coming in for were not there for, and would have had no idea that they do it. Right. They're waiting to have this drug testing for the hospital or something, and they're going to go home. So while they're bored, why not have them fill out this little questionnaire? And the questionnaire was prompting them, asking them, so do you ever feel really tired at night? Have you ever done this? And then, and it was prompting them to start thinking about aspects of their life. And then when they came back, somebody looked at that and said, oh, it looks like, oh, you're having trouble sleeping at night. We have a thing,
Yeah.
So this waiting room aspect of, it's usually dead space. They say, when it comes to return on your investment for having a practice, your waiting room is not generating revenue, usually. Yes. If you're not marketing to them about the stuff that they aren't actually even there for. Maybe they have a grandson who has an auditory processing disorder, but they don't even know it yet, or they wouldn't know that this office is more than just an earwax removal place. Or we have a lot of band members that come in for custom in-ear monitors. They have no idea the other stuff that we do.
Yep.
I would 100%. Like them to know more about tinnitus, right?
Yep.
So you're tapping into something that a lot of people are having a hard time helping people with just allowing them to know that we are more than just that one box you think we are.
100%. I mean, that I would say is probably one of the greatest values of the system, is that, in that moment, it is dead space. Everyone has to have it. You have to have a door and people have to walk in. You have to have that space for someone to move into, and they move through it, even if they're not sitting there for a long time, they're in it. And in 1 minute, 60 seconds of video has the same impact as 1.8 million written words. That's how fast our brain can process video. That's how we process, that kind of information. So it's amazing. It was a Forrester study that they learned that's how our brains function. So you can imagine in 60 seconds, with a video that shared some insight as to some other things that you might do that they had no idea. And like you said, hey, it's your grandkids that might be struggling, or if someone's a musician, did you know, if it's, or a tinnitus therapy, or, any other services that are offered outside of what that patient might expect that you're doing. It's pretty amazing how much you can get done in a short period of time with video.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you had, speaking of studies, has anyone done some just even soft study of looking at their, let's say their monthly revenue, average monthly revenue before and after using your system?
That's something that we've been working on doing, and I think the greatest challenge is how people are recording, how they're measuring. So that's something we very much like to be able to do. We have seen, in terms of the investment, it's a very low cost subscription. So our regular price is $89.95 a month, and then we offer a lot of program discounts through different organizations in the industry at $59.95 a month. So, $59.95 a month, it doesn't take much to get that return on investment. And we've seen that it's probably 10-to-1 return on investment for those that have utilized the system, whether it be a sharing of a service that the patients weren't aware of, or simply it moved them to say yes, I want to be fit. It takes less than one hearing aid to cover that cost, so it's
for a whole year.
For a whole year.
That's good. To be honest, we've talked about your system for a lot in our office. We still have your lunchbox that you sent us one day, which I think yeah. So we've been very aware of you, but logistically, I have been struggling with where would we put this television because of the way our waiting room is set up.
Yeah.
And you kind of hit on something where a lot of audiologists are not requiring people to wait in the waiting room because I don't know, a lot of us are like military. We stay to our schedule, and we would never want someone out in the waiting area.
Yeah.
Then there's the question of, and I like the fact it has closed captioning, but how do you have the volume in the waiting area? We have an open concept. It's a beautiful office, but
Yeah.
I think it would drive the front desk nuts, and then they're competing with that versus talking. Where I'm going with this is I didn't realize that we could have it in the rooms, because if we shuttle them into a room, close the door, and maybe they're in there while we're doing a clean and check or we're getting something, we could have something for them educationally running.
Yes, 100%. Anytime that you have space in the office where a patient is waiting and you've given their brain free time to roam, you know, it's going to be relative. If it's a senior that is, or a patient that's comfortable with a cell phone, they're going to go right to their cell phone, and now their brain is somewhere else. You know, they're thinking about other things. If it's a senior, and it was really sad. We were doing, I was installing it. I stopped in. We're doing a little testing to see, what kind of content is having greatest impact in an office here in Austin. And so I was in there, and there was an older gal, and I would say that we would put this in the super senior, category. She was at probably in her 90s, at least from, the way she was moving. She had a caregiver that was with her, brought her in, dropped her off. And as she sat there, there was nothing. We were just putting the player in. And so it was dead silent. It just felt super uncomfortable. And this gal, she just looked so sad. She was looking down. She doesn't have a cell phone. She was, she just was looking down. And so as she was sitting there, and so she waited, and when we've been talking to this clinic for a while, and they're like, no, our patients don't wait. She waited 15 minutes. She was sitting there. And so, I think it's also a understanding time and how long do people really wait. So as we set up the player and the content started to play, she immediately, her head looks up, she's watching, a smile on her face, and it's not like that was tragic for her. It wasn't like she wasn't going to be moving forward with whatever her treatment was, but that her mood changed. You could see it. You could just see how much more comfortable she felt, and just having it was like she was just sitting there in the silence, and it was so uncomfortable, So it does make a difference just from that perspective. And then if you have any patients, like I said, sitting in a space where they have any quiet time and someone's not counseling them, talking to them, moving through something, they're just sitting there, those are opportunities.
Yeah, a missed opportunity.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, because they all have family, friends, neighbors. You just never know. Yes, and then they can brag about you. Did you know my audiologist? Because if something comes from us, it doesn't come over as well.
Yes.
So I understand that those of us that are in Dr. Cliff's network, that there are some videos for us where he lets them know, hey, you're in a pretty good place because, I know for a fact your office is using best practices.
Yes.
And I did hear about how if you're going to do a presentation, you never want to introduce yourself.
Right.
Because you're standing there trying to explain how awesome you are, and how awkward is that, first of all, and no one's going to believe you.
Right.
And so to have someone else introducing you or saying, you know what, she's pretty fantastic, when they thought, oh, well, it's just my neighbor's friend, and they think it's just Dawn. Well, imagine if someone else was introducing me, they would see me in a different light.
Yes.
Right? So I think this is the wave of the future, definitely. And I'm still, seriously, the fact that we don't have to have a Roku or a special TV, logistically trying to find, how are we going to hang up that TV? Where's the outlet? Do we have to get a cable box? All this stuff was a stressful thing for our office. So we hesitated because we have a lot going on.
Right.
To be able to run it on a PC, a laptop, with monitors, like I have a monitor right here. That's amazing. I didn't know this.
Yeah, any screen. Yeah, so it's super flexible. It doesn't lock you into anything, and when you talk about placement of TVs too, what's interesting, so ABHF is my dad's nonprofit, and in Chicago they have, audiologists travel, but they have a clinic in Bridge. And so he has a screen positioned, when you walk in, they don't have wall space. So he's actually hung it on the front desk, and what's really cool is and they have a lot of patients that will sit in the waiting room. It's right at eyesight level. They're not lifting their head up. It's right at eyesight level.
That is very important. I have a patient who's young and she's an optometrist. And I used to have my screen up higher, and she said, if you're working with older people, that doesn't work. It looks good for you, for the aesthetics of your office, but if they have trifocals or they're hunched over already and they have to look up, they're not going to do it. You have to have it at their eyesight level to make it easy.
Yeah, so he literally hung it to the front desk. So if you have a desk, when someone walks in, you can, and the TVs now are so light that it's very easy to do. So that works out really, really well.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, because a lot of times we have these ideas or we want to use services, but logistically we can't figure out how to implement it. So then we hesitate, and then it gets put on a list that gets forgotten. Excellent. Is there any one takeaway message that you would like our viewers to know?
I would say that the takeaway is that don't underestimate that moment of time. Don't underestimate the moment of time that a patient walks in the door, and you could be the greatest provider on the planet Earth and follow all best practices and do all the right things. But emotions drive our behaviors, and there's nothing that's going to change that. And so when a patient walks in, if in that moment there is not an emotional connection, it can challenge them moving forward no matter how good you are. And so I think that please don't underestimate those moments with your patients and respect them. And that can change everything, because at the end of the day, no matter what, and we've been in this space long enough to be able to say this with confidence, this is psychology that is the biggest roadblock to patients, 100% of people with hearing loss not taking action. It is not about cost, it's not convenience, it's not about OTC stuff, it's not about any of that. It is the human condition, and it is our mindsets that keep us from taking action to resolve hearing loss. So, it's just respect the moment.
I would agree with that 100%. You obviously know what you're talking about. And I feel so blessed to be able to talk to you. And I'm so glad that you are here in our space and helping clinicians like myself to be able to help transform someone's life. If they don't believe that this is a good thing, they're not going to follow through with our treatment. And we all know the side effects of not moving forward with treatment. And if this $59, $89, even $89 a month little fee could make a difference in more people's lives every month, it's totally worth it.
Yeah. I'm a little bit, biased on it, but I would agree with you 100%.
Well, no one else is doing this. So I congratulate you, Michelle, and your family. And I thank all that you guys have done over the past, 2-3 decades to help our world, our patients, and to make our lives easier.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I appreciate you spending time with me today and sharing more about this really cool tool.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And if anyone wanted to check out information, they can go to cleardigitalmedia.net, and we have all kinds of really great stuff there, and you can check out videos, and so it's a lot of great information there.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome. Have a great day.